Hurricane Matthew as it approaches the Florida coast, and we're waiting for that 11 o'clock advisory to see exactly how the storm has fluctuated in intensity, whether or not it's gone down, whether or not we've seen a pickup in the intensity. One thing is for sure, though, it still looks like structural-wise that it's the same as it was as it makes its way off towards the north and west. And you can it still has that double eye wall signature there, the inner eye wall and then the outer one. And this likely the bigger eye wall is actually going to be the one that I think will be the dominant eye once this whole replacement cycle comes to a conclusion here, which it looks like it is trying to do that now. But there are a couple of lightning strikes in the very northern and northeastern part of the eye wall there, so it's trying to hang on. You can see there that does it's indicative, I should say, is getting late. It's indicative of perhaps some intensification as it tracks north and west towards the Florida coast. Now, we've been tracking these showers just basically spreading their way westward across parts of southeast Florida. You can see getting into our southwest Florida counties here over into portions of Glades County. And tracking a little bit of rain. Clewiston getting a pretty decent downpour now with some gusty winds. But again, this entire system is moving gradually to the north and west. So notice that the western edge of the eye wall is now starting to encroach upon northeastern Palm Beach County and then getting into sections of Martin and St. Lucie County up around the Port Pierce area. That's where we're seeing some of those stronger winds now. Winds around southwest Florida have been generally light, certainly lighter than what we're seeing on the east coast now, but in the vicinity of 5, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour, so not really much higher than that. We've seen some gusts, though, starting to get above 30 miles per hour, particularly in some areas near the coast and, again, farther east over closer to Lake Okeechobee. You can see 32-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the last hour up towards Port Charlotte and 29 in Fort Myers. So, again, the storm continuing to move northwest. Big central dense overcast here. Looks like a big donut heading right towards the state of Florida. And this is going to produce a massive storm surge. And you've been hearing a lot talking about, I know Governor Scott was talking about this is a storm that potentially could kill. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations. What you're seeing right here is the worst case scenario for a massive storm surge on the Florida and Georgia coast. This is the type of situation that we did not want to happen ever, and it looks like it is happening right now with the winds, the counterclockwise winds, piling all this water from the Atlantic all up against the Space Coast and the First Coast and then up towards the Georgia coast. It's going to be a bad situation, folks, once this thing starts moving northward and that storm surge really gets going. This is the 10 o'clock position update. This is the position estimate. Now, they do these position estimates, especially when the storm is getting close to making landfall. They do the intermediate advisories, of course. The full advisory will come out at 11 o'clock, so we should be getting that shortly. But you can see as the latest advisory, the wind's still holding at 130 miles per hour. You can see how the storm track right here is fairly close to the Florida coast. So we're expecting this to get up into sections of Brevard County and then heading northwest up towards these areas north of Cape Canaveral, up around St. Augustine, and then Daytona Beach, and eventually Jacksonville tomorrow afternoon. So the whole East Coast is going to be dealing with this through tomorrow into tomorrow night. Hurricane warning remains in effect. Broward County has been dropped, includes Palm Beach County northward. Tropical storm watch has been canceled for most of southwest Florida. It still includes Sarasota and DeSoto counties. Tropical storm warning remains in effect for Highlands, Glades, Hendry County. It's been dropped for Collier County. So these three counties right here, particularly Glades and Hendry, are the areas around Clewiston and up towards areas around Lakeport where we could see those winds picking up, maybe even gusting close to hurricane force once the system starts getting closer to the coast, which is doing right now. There's the hurricane force wind field, the big area of red. And this is, again, what we're seeing right now. We're starting to see those tropical storm force winds encroaching upon the coast. And then by tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we're still going to have a large area of tropical storm force winds. But the hurricane force wind field is relatively small compared to the tropical storm force winds. So those will be lifting out pretty quickly. And then by tomorrow afternoon and evening, things looking much nicer here. This is the latest run from the high-resolution rapid refresh model. We call it the HRRR. This is a model that updates every hour, and it takes the radar data and it goes through its calculations and determines what the radar may look like at a particular time period. And you can see by 1 o'clock in the morning, the western eye wall encroaching upon those counties that I mentioned earlier along the east coast and then gradually rotating its way northward. And it's right here where we could see some of those stronger wind gusts get into our easternmost counties in our viewing area. So Highlands, Glades into Hendry. This is where we could start to see when the eye wall starts encroaching onto and pushing inland towards Lake Okeechobee. That would be in the 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock range in the morning. That's where we'll see some of the strongest winds. And then you'll see the wind shift out of the west as the storm begins pulling away. And then finally, by lunchtime tomorrow, still looking at a few showers here in southwest Florida. So if you have any plans tomorrow for your Friday, it's going to be cloudy. There'll be a few stray showers around, but the winds will be gusting around 20 miles an hour as the storm leaves, but it shouldn't get any higher than that for tomorrow morning and then getting much better. Now, as you can see, the wind arrow is pretty much showing how things are going to behave throughout the day. Once the storm starts moving north, the winds will come out of the southwest. So we may actually see some higher than normal tides with this onshore wind. The tides will be about 1 to 3 feet higher than normal near the coast there with that onshore flow. And that should actually continue here throughout the day, although the wind should gradually start to calm down here by tomorrow afternoon. You can see the wind gusts through the morning hours ranging anywhere from 40, 50 miles per hour closer to the core of the storm up in the Glades in Hendry County. But farther west, you can see some gusts 20, 25, 30 miles per hour, not out of the question. But for most of southwest Florida, that's about as high as it's going to get. And the highest risk for power outages staying over towards the east coast. So again, things looking a little damp, a little cloudy, and a little windy here for tonight. The worst weather, though, our friends over in Clewiston and anywhere around Lake Okeechobee, since you guys are the closest to the circulation or the eye of the storm, you guys will have the worst weather tonight. Everybody else, though, cloudy, a little breezy, a little rainy at times, but temperatures will be in the mid-70s. And then improving weather for all of us for tomorrow and a fantastic weekend shaping up with plenty of sunshine and temperatures into the 80s. Amy?